My wife said, "You're never there for me emotionally." So I shut down. Then she cried at 2 a.m., begging me to love her again. I just stared at the ceiling. We've been married for 7 years. I met Sarah in college. She was this sharp, funny, magnetic person who seemed to pull people into her orbit like gravity. I was the quieter one, more introverted, more methodical. But we balanced each other well. Or at least, I thought we did. Over the years, life caught up with us. Jobs, bills, family expectations. We moved to a small house in Connecticut, not far from where she grew up. I started working long hours as a project manager for a tech company. Remote work didn't make it easier. It just blurred the lines between office and home. Sarah became a therapist, which, ironically, made her extremely good at talking about emotions, but only mine. About a year ago, things started changing. She grew more distant. Her laughs became shorter, her texts colder. And then one night, during what I thought would be a peaceful dinner, she just blurted it out. "You're never there for me emotionally, Mark. I don't feel connected to you anymore." I blinked, put my fork down, tried not to react. "What do you mean?" "I mean, you never ask how I'm feeling. You don't really see me. It's like I live with a ghost who pays the mortgage." I didn't know what to say. I thought I had been there. I supported her when her mom passed away, stood by her during a rough career transition, even cooked for us every night for months when she was burned out. But apparently, I had missed some invisible benchmark. She stormed out of the kitchen that night, tears in her eyes. I didn't follow. I just sat there, feeling like I'd been sucker punched in the gut. I tried for a while after that, really tried. Asked her about her day, sent her flowers randomly, even set up a weekend getaway to the Adirondacks. But it felt like pouring water into a bottomless well. No matter how much I gave, it was never enough. She'd sigh, say I was trying too hard, or being performative. It was always something. Eventually, I stopped. I didn't announce it. I didn't throw a tantrum. I just stopped trying. No more check-ins, no more date nights, no more reaching out first. I became polite but distant. I wasn't cruel. I just matched her energy. A few weeks into my silence, she noticed. The first time she brought it up was subtle. "You're quiet lately. Is something wrong?" I shrugged. "Just tired." She nodded, but I could see the gears turning in her head. It was like she wasn't used to me having boundaries. Then came the second wave. She started texting during work hours. "Miss you. Can we talk tonight?" She'd come sit beside me on the couch, lean into me like she used to. But I stayed cold. I didn't know if it was petty or self-preservation, but I couldn't bring myself to pretend again. Then one night, around 2 in the morning, she woke me up. Her eyes were red. She was clearly crying. "Mark, I don't like this. I don't like who we're becoming." "You mean who I became when I stopped chasing validation?" She didn't respond for a long time. Then she whispered, "Please, I just want you to love me again." I sat there in silence. I should have felt satisfaction, maybe even a little vindication. But all I felt was tired. Just deeply, soulfully tired. What would you have done in Mark's position? Is emotional neglect ever a two-way street? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I didn't respond to her that night. Not really. I just sat there beside her in bed, staring at the ceiling while she cried quietly next to me. A part of me wanted to reach out and hold her, just out of habit or muscle memory. But another part, the louder part, held me back. It whispered, "You gave her everything for years, and she didn't notice until you stopped." The next morning was awkward. She made coffee and placed a cup beside my laptop without a word. We exchanged glances, and I nodded, murmuring a thanks, but that was it. There was a tension between us now, but not the explosive kind. This was the slow, creeping kind of tension that feels more like grief than anger. For the next few days, she tried harder. She'd ask about my day. She started cooking again, something she hadn't done in months. She even sat next to me while I worked and tried to make casual conversation. But I wasn't sure what to make of it. Was she finally realizing what she had? Or was she just afraid of losing the security we'd built? Then it happened. We were folding laundry together, and out of nowhere, she said, "I've been seeing a therapist for myself." I looked up. "Since when?" 3 weeks. I didn't want to tell you until I was sure I'd stick with it. I didn't say anything. She sat on the edge of the bed, holding a pair of socks in her hand like she'd forgotten what they were. I realized. I've been projecting a lot. You've always been consistent, Mark. Solid. But I think I was expecting you to fix things I didn't even understand myself. She wasn't crying this time. She was just speaking softly, honestly. My dad, he was cold, distant. I always told myself I'd never settle for a man who made me feel invisible like he did. And when you started working longer hours, when you got quiet, it triggered something in me. But the truth is, I started pulling away first. You were reacting. I just didn't see it. That was probably the most vulnerable I'd seen her in years. And I hated that it made me feel something again. Because the truth was, despite everything, I still loved her. but I didn't trust that love anymore. I didn't trust that it wouldn't be taken for granted again. I appreciate you telling me that, I finally said. I really do, but I need time. She nodded, biting her lip. I get that. We started talking more after that, slowly, carefully, like we were both afraid of breaking something fragile. I didn't let her in completely, not right away, but I listened. I asked her questions, too, not just to be polite, but because I wanted to understand if this was real growth or just guilt. A week later, she suggested we go to couples therapy. I'd been hesitant for years. Honestly, I always thought it was for people on the brink of divorce. But maybe we were exactly that. So we went. Our first session was hard. The therapist was a woman named Dr. Lynn, calm but firm. She didn't let either of us play the blame game. She asked one simple question. When did you stop feeling emotionally safe with each other? That question sat in my chest like a brick. I looked at Sarah. She looked at me. And for the first time in months, we actually talked. Not surface talk. Not passive-aggressive bickering. Just truth. She admitted she'd been shutting down emotionally before ever telling me she felt neglected. I admitted I'd buried myself in work because I didn't know how to make her happy anymore. We were both wrong. And maybe that's what made it worth trying again. Ever felt like someone expected you to read their mind in a relationship? When both people feel neglected, who should speak first? I'd love to know what you think. After the first therapy session, something shifted. It wasn't like we magically fixed everything overnight. Far from it. But for the first time in a long time, it felt like we were finally sitting on the same side of the table, trying to fight the problem together instead of fighting each other. Over the next few weeks, we committed to small changes. No dramatic declarations, no grand romantic gestures, just consistent, quiet effort. We set aside 30 minutes each night just to talk. No phones, no TV. Sometimes the conversations were light, memories from college, a funny client story. Other times, they went deeper. She told me she used to feel like she was drowning in expectations, not just mine, but her own. I told her I often felt invisible in the relationship, like I was only appreciated when I failed. There were tears. There were long silences. But we didn't walk away from the hard parts. One night, maybe a month into therapy, she asked me something that caught me off guard. Do you think we fell out of love? I was quiet for a moment. I think we stopped seeing each other. Love didn't disappear. It just got buried under all the resentment. She nodded slowly, brushing her fingers over the rim of her mug. Do you think we can get it back? And I told her the truth. I don't know, but I want to try. As long as trying doesn't mean I lose myself again. That was the deal breaker for me. I couldn't go back to being the emotional workhorse of the relationship, always giving, never receiving. And to her credit, she got it. She started doing more emotional lifting. She asked how I was doing and actually listened. She didn't just wait for her turn to speak. She apologized, really apologized, for the time she made me feel like I didn't matter. I found myself softening. The walls I'd built weren't crumbling, but she was finding the door. And it wasn't just emotional effort. She showed it in little ways too. She'd leave notes on my desk when I had tough work days. She started organizing things she used to expect me to handle. It didn't feel performative. It felt sincere. We both learned something crucial through all this. Love doesn't die because of one big thing. It dies from 1,000 small neglects. And it can come back the same way, one small act of care at a time. About 3 months into couples therapy, we went on a short weekend trip. Just the two of us, no distractions. Hiking, reading, cooking together. It wasn't flashy, but it felt right. Natural. Familiar, but better. The night before we left, sitting under the stars on the cabin porch, she said, "Thank you for not giving up on me." I looked at her, really looked at her. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like the woman I fell in love with was sitting in front of me again. Thank you for choosing to show up. That's all I ever wanted. We're not perfect. There are still days when we misunderstand each other, when the weight of the past feels heavy. But now we talk. We repair. We take responsibility. I used to think that walking away would be the strongest thing I could do. But now I realize, sometimes, staying and working through the hard parts is even stronger. We almost lost each other. But we didn't. And that's something I'll never take for granted again. What do you think? Was Mark right to shut down when he felt unappreciated? Do you think this kind of emotional repair is really possible? Or was he just lucky she came around? I'd love to hear your perspective. I appreciate you watching till the end. Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more content.